Walking a road a long time, oh Lord, long time, oh Lord, long time. I have been walking a road long time, and I got weary. Oh, I have been walking a road, dear Lord, long time, oh Lord, long time, oh Lord, long time. I have been walking a road long time, and I got weary. Well, I've been praying this prayer a long time, oh Lord, long time, oh Lord, long time. I have been praying this prayer long time, and I got weary. Oh, I've been praying this prayer long time, oh Lord, long time, oh Lord, long time. I have been praying this prayer long time, when I got weary. Oh, peace, peace, people. Welcome to Yemima's World, the Jelly Moose's Cafe. I am your hostess, Yemima, and it is always good to be black in the land of the living once again. I do not own the rights to the song. It is the Gullah Geechee or the Gullah Singers, and it is called A Long Time. Um, so, those of you who don't know that there was a tragedy that happened on Sapelo Island in Georgia with some of our Gullah elders, unfortunately lost their lives, and they now sit amongst the ancestors. And it was tragic. And I want to read the names of those that were lost in their ages. Jacqueline Cruz Carter, who was 75 years old from Jacksonville. Cynthia Gibbs, 74 years old from Jacksonville. Charles Houston, 77 from Darren, Georgia. William Johnson, 73 from Atlanta. Carlotta McIntosh, 93 from Jacksonville. Isaiah Thomas, 79 from Jacksonville. Queen Welsh, 76 from Atlanta. Those were the elders who lost their lives in that tragic accident that took place this past weekend in Georgia. May the ancestors welcome them with open arms in their journey back to the ancestral land, peaceful. So, yeah, that was very, very tragic. And my heart goes out to the families, praying for the families of those that lost their lives. So, we are still, of course, in Hoodoo Heritage Month. For them to join the ancestors during this month is special, and I hope that their ancestors see that is special. So we're going to get into tonight's episode of the podcast, and I thought it would be fitting to talk about Gullah Jack, who is a Geechee, who was a Geechee, he was a Gullah Geechee man, Gullah Jack. And the thing about it is, I had planned to do his story before the tragedy struck. I was out of town this weekend and didn't get a chance to do any episodes. So we're going to do Gullah Jack. All right. So this, I took this from the internet, and it is called Gullah Jack, the Little Man Who Can't Be Killed. And it is written by Messeret Kentucky. And this was done back in 2015. All right. So Gullah Jack was also known as Cooter Jack and sometimes referred to as Gullah Jack Pritchard. He was an African conjurer who was historically known for aiding Denmark Vesey in planning a large Atlantic slavery uprising that would become known as Denmark Vesey Conspiracy of 1822. All right, so Gullah Jack was African born and purchased as a prisoner of war at Zanzibar, which is later known as Zanzibar, on Africa's eastern shore by Zephaniah Kinsley in the early 19th century. Gullah Jack was allowed to take a bag aboard the ship, which he always kept with him. Approximately 40 people escaped or were taken prisoners in the 1812 Seminole raid on the Kinsley plantation where Gullah Jack was enslaved. He was among the group that eventually ended up in Charleston, South Carolina. In 1821, Paul Pritchard purchased him there. A short man with bushy side whiskers who acted artful for Europeans. Gullah Jack had perfected the shuck and jive persona. He was a member of the AME church that Denmark Vesey attended, and just after Christmas in 1821, Vesey recruited Gullah Jack to be one of his lieutenants. Known as a conjurer and among blacks as the little man who can't be killed, he had a reputation as a powerful root doctor who was skilled in the uses of herbs for medicine or poison. He was also able to create powerful protective amulets against evil. Gullah Jack also represented an Angolan company called the Gullah Company or the Gullah Society. Gullah Jack was instrumental in spreading the message of Denmark's plan to seize the city of Charleston, kill most of the Europeans, and if necessary, escape to the Caribbean, supposedly to Haiti. He recruited African born men as soldiers for the revolution and gave the recruits African religious symbols to guarantee victory against the Bukra. Bukra, Buckra, is what they call white people, the Europeans. He instructed his faithful to eat only parched corn and ground nuts on the day of the attack and gave them crab claws to hold in their mouths as they attacked to keep them from being wounded. He is also said to have used his spiritual powers to terrify others into keeping silent about the conspiracy. Historians believe Gullah Jack's strong African culture, contrasted against Vesey's preaching, helped attract many of the enslaved that joined the revolt. So, in other words, what Denmark was saying, because Denmark was a Christian, Gullah Jack was an African spiritualist. And so even though they wanted the same outcome, basically they just were going about it a different way, which is probably why they recruited African born soldiers because they had not yet been fully colonized. The plan was betrayed, and Gullah Jack was captured on July 5th, 1822. At his trial, Gullah Jack played the fool so much that some of the judges could not believe he was part of the rebellion. However, as the trial progressed and six witnesses testified against him, Jack's demeanor changed. He scowled and gave his accusers hard looks. He made motions and designs with his fingers until the judges admonished him for trying to bewitch the witnesses. Testimony from his trial mentioned that he requested an extension on his life for 1 or 2 weeks. However, he was condemned to death and hung on July 12, 1822. He is still remembered and admired in the Gullah Geechee Nation. And so I have a copy of the sentence of Gullah Jack. Let me see if I can read this. July 9th, July 9th, it has 1922. I don't know why it has that date. Probably should be 1822. Jack, a slave belonging to Paul Pritchard, commonly called Gullah Jack and sometimes Cooter Jack, was brought up and sentence pronounced by presiding magistrate L.H. Kennedy, Jack Pritchard. The court, after deliberately considering all the circumstances of your case, are perfectly satisfied of your guilt. In the prosecution of your wicked designs, you were not satisfied with resorting to natural and ordinary means, but endeavored to enlist on your behalf all the powers of darkness. So basically, they're saying that he was using dark magic or witchcraft to get himself out of what they were prosecuting him for, and employed for that purpose the most disgusting murmury, and superstition. You represented yourself as invulnerable, that you could neither be taken nor destroyed, and that all who fought under your banners would be invincible. While such wretched expedients are calculated to inspire the confidence or to alarm the fears of the ignorant and the credulous, they excite no other emotion in the mind of the intelligent and enlightened but contempt and disgust. Your boasted charms have not preserved yourself, and of course could not protect others. Your altars and your gods, the airy specters conjured by you, have been chased away by the special light of truth, and you have stand exposed, the miserable and deluded victim of offended justice. Your days are literally numbered. You will shortly be consigned to the cold and silent grave, and all the powers of darkness cannot rescue you from your approaching fate. Let me then conjure you to devote the remnant of your miserable existence in fleeting from the wrath to come. This can only be done by a full disclosure of the truth. The court are willing to afford you all the aid in their power and to permit any minister of the gospel whom you may select to have free access to you. To him you may unburden your guilty conscience. Neglect not the opportunity, for there is no device nor art beyond the tomb to which you must shortly be consigned. All right, so this was what basically what the judge said to General Gullah Jack about his charms and his magic and all this, that, and the other could not save him from death. Um, and it's not so much that his charms couldn't save him from death, it was the fact that somebody turned him in. So yeah, it's sad because if you go back and look at the rebellions, it was always somebody that looked like us that turned us in. It was always somebody that looked like us who didn't get on board with the program and turned us in. Um, for those of you who don't know, Gullah Jack and Denmark Vesey were members of the AME Church, where Dylan Roof went into in 2009, I think it was. Dylan Roof went in and killed the parishioners that were having Bible study and prayer service that night. And I wonder if those people at Mother Emanuel knew the history of their church, if they knew anything about Gullah Jack, if they knew anything about Denmark Vesey. I know that a lot of people talk about Denmark, but they don't talk about Gullah Jack. And so I thought it would be befitting tonight to talk about our Gullah Geechee um, ancestors and what they brought to the table in terms of hoodoo and in terms of conjure and in terms of root work. So Gullah Jack, in my eyes, was a hero, as many of our revolutionaries that fought against the establishment of oppression. I think that unfortunately in 2024, we as Black people tend to want to offer an olive branch and we want to welcome everyone into our spaces without vetting them, without really knowing who they are, without understanding that they may mean us harm. I When I read what the judge said to Gullah Jack about his charms and dark magic wasn't able to save him, and it just reminds me of Christians who are so on fire for Jesus that when it comes to, I mean, look at the at Mother Emanuel, those those parishioners were on fire for Jesus, and unfortunately they were unalive, or their lives were taken in the house of the Lord. So where was that light, if you will, power? Where was that passion from the Christian God to save those people? because the judge said that Gullah Jack's beliefs, his faith did not save him. Unfortunately, the beliefs and faith of those parishioners didn't save them either. So that is tonight's story. My heart is heavy for those elders that we lost. It really is heavy. But in honor of them, I did want to bring a story about the Gullah Geechee people. So that's it for tonight. Short and sweet. Until next time, you know the drill. Love yourself, love each other, give yourself some grace, give each other some grace. Stay cool, stay warm wherever you are. Honor your ancestors. They will honor you. We are our ancestors. Until next time, stay black. Peace, fam.